Hey, love. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons from Behind My Chair. I'm your host, Angela B. Fuller, Master Hairstylist turned Certified Life Coach. Today, we have a very good topic, a very good discussion, and I am looking so forward to it. So let's dive right in. But before we dive in, I have a pop question for you. And my pop question today is, what do you do every day to get yourself in the right mindset? It sounds simple enough, but some of us need to begin a practice, a ritual, a standard way of helping us to get in the right mindset. And there are times when we just can't leave it to chance, because when life begins, once our feet hit the floor and we start running and moving through our day, it's hard to start from where we are. So my suggestion is, the very first thing in the morning, create some type of ritual to help get you in the right mindset. Okay? So give that some thought and come up with something that's going to serve you. Now let's dive into our conversation for today. And the conversation is about who we are, not who someone else says you are, but who do you say you are? When someone asks you the question, who are you? Where do you go with that? Because see, most of the time when someone asks who we are, we go straight to the obvious. Our name, where we're from, when we were born, what we do for a living, whether we are a mother, whether we are an aunt, a business owner, all that stuff. But I'm talking about the real question of who you are from within, who you are from your center, not who you sometimes project yourself to be for the public, but who you are internally. Because what I have found is that a lot of times when we look at other people's lives, people that we admire, people who appear as if they are doing life in a big way, we go beyond the person's name. We go beyond, when we're talking about describing that person, we go beyond that person's name. We go beyond that person's age, that person's occupation. Our mind travels into the full spectrum of who that person are. Their attitude, how they approach life. Instead of looking at their life, we look at their lifestyle, because most times what's happening inside of us shows out in the world. So whatever is inside of us, that's what we project to the world. So when we go to describe another person, we look at how they are showing up in the world. So my thing is this: if you find yourself, or when you find yourself not feeling like who you are showing up as in the world is not tracking with the person who you want to be, the mindset that you're trying to create is not adding up to what is projected to the world, then I want to suggest that you begin to think about yourself beyond the obvious. And so how do we do that? That is such a big question. How do we come back to our center to believe that we are so much more than how we physically show up? I think we need to start looking at our space around us. And are we utilizing that space to show up big? Because when we begin to put ourselves in a cubicle, in a box, then I believe that we have cut off our ability to expand. And when we start to think about expanding or growing, it becomes uncomfortable. We feel like we're trying to, it's like wearing a garment that's just too tight. When we put it on and we try to relax, it's very constricting. And so we kind of hold our breath. We don't allow ourselves to show up as the big person that we are. So I think when we think about who we are, think about not only the physical, but think about your dreams. Think about your hopes. Think about your gifts. Think about your desires. Think about your language. Think about the expression of yourself. But also think about what it feels to show up bigger. What does it feel like to you to show up bigger? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Are you excited? Are you doubtful? Are you courageous, or do you lack the courage? Are you sad, or are you willing to show more bliss and more joy? And when you show up opposite of all the positives and something just doesn't sit well with you in that moment, that lets you know that you are not being who you are. It lets you know that there's a part of you that is being stifled. There's a part of you that's being suffocated. There's a part of you that's playing small. And I'm here to tell you that you don't have to do that. That there's absolutely nothing small about you. That you didn't, I'm here to tell you that you didn't come here to be small, to play small, to think small. I'm asking that you take the time to go back, quiet your mind, meditate, and sit in what it took for you to get here. And so now that you are here, make a decision to show up and realize that when you begin to think of yourself more than how you show up in this world, that does feel uncomfortable, but that's also that internal, powerful, all-knowing voice inside of you telling you that it's time for you to grow. And I'll be the first to tell you, there is absolutely nothing about growth that is easy. But understand that these feelings of constriction and uneasiness come to us to remind us that it is time to grow. And sometimes when you just take one small step in the direction of growing and be okay with feeling the uncomfortableness, the fear, when you try to expand, when you try to step beyond your regular reaction to a thing, that puts you one step closer to being more, to doing more, to having more for yourself. And when you decide to go first, you're giving other people permission to step as well. Because see, we're all interconnected, and we're all here to help one another. And we can't help one another if each of us are not doing our part. So I'm suggesting that you make it a point. You decide that you're going to do your part. And doing your part is individual to you. My part, the part I have to play to elevate, are not the things that you have to do to elevate. But trust and believe me, if you take the time to think about the areas of your life that needs to be transformed, that needs to be stepped up a little bit, you'll know. And when you know, write those things down. And then right next to it, write the opposite of the things that you fear, of the things that's not tracking for you. Because they're polar opposites. Because there's yin and there's yang. And when we recognize these two extremes, then we meet those things, those extremes in the middle. And it's from the middle that we grow. You know, no one goes from 0 to 100 in a second. But you can certainly assess your 0 and then assess your 100. And then tell yourself, work through whatever it is you have to work through to move more to the middle. And yes, it's hard. And yes, it's uncomfortable. And yes, sometimes we don't want to do it. And yes, sometimes we do feel complacent. But the opposite of all those things, uncomfortable, complacent, fearful, the opposite of that is where you will find your transformation. So if everything begins in the mind, then it only makes sense that you work on your mindset. Begin to work on your mindset. Begin to work from the inside out. That's how you change your outer reality, by working from the inside out. Because half of what is inside of us that's keeping us stuck, that's keeping us afraid, that's keeping us timid, it's not even our stuff. It's things that we have been told, that we have been conditioned to believe to be true about who we are. But you have the power to rewrite your own script, rewrite your own reality. And it begins inside of you. Now, if you struggle in that area, there are books, there are courses, there are techniques, there are steps that could help move you forward. You do not have to do this alone. You don't have to do this by yourself. Help is right at your fingertips. So let's make our minds up in this first month of this new year, 2023. That beginning today, we are going to take small steps that allow us to move our mindset forward so that we can have the physical evidence in our reality that we have grown. Now listen to me. If you have found anything in this conversation that is of value to you, and you believe that someone else can benefit from listening to this conversation, please share it out. I would be so ever grateful, because I can't do it by myself. I need my audience. I need my listeners' help, because we do not move forward alone. We can only rise up when we do it together. Okay? Bye.